we have this darkness, we have this primal side, we have this like this monster inside of us that isn't bad. That's the essence of the protector. That's the essence of the warrior. That's the essence of the motherfucker that's going to kill somebody who threatens you and your children. You need to have that animal, that monster, that primal side. And you have to feel safe to be able to hold that. And I know that I'm in a solid relationship when my partners can handle my past. When my partners go, I love that you used to do that crazy shit. I know I'm like, yeah, because it makes you feel safe. And you empower me to keep that peace because you know how valuable it is. But so often, whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, mentally, emotionally, whatever that is, whenever there's that darkness that arises in men, I think a lot of times because it's so intense for the feminine, and it's very counter kind of intuitive to how the feminine acts, they get really scared and withdrawal, and then the man feels very bad about it, and then he'll start to suppress that side of him.
Exactly. And that's the terrible part, that because it's not communicated, it stops becoming a conscious transmutation of the energy.
Yes.
And it becomes a toxic side.
Yes.
And then it becomes addiction, abuse, all these negative things, because in society, intensity has been seen as bad for so long. But intensity is what creates. Intensity is what keeps safe.
Yes.
Like there's so many beautiful things about what you're saying about that dark masculine, and the dark masculine gets a lot of shame, especially in spiritual communities, but it is necessary.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this as a woman, you probably want that.
Yeah.
Most likely you want some dark masculine.
Yeah.
And so feeling safe in that is so important. That's what I spoke to about my partner when she said, I want to see that beast. I want to know your beast. I wasn't just like, oh yeah. Like, it was like, okay, let's have some conversations about what that looks like.
Yes.
What do I need from you to feel safe enough to show you my beast?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Ignite You podcast.
Stories of transformation,
Initiation,
depth,
and duality.
with a sprinkle of sass. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Welcome, crew. We got damn good cacao today.
So good.
We got a juicy episode for you today.
That we do.
One that we just conjured up. Well, it's been building for a while in our lives.
It has.
It's one that is going to be very controversial. It's one that is quite possibly going to trigger some people.
And it's one that one of our audience members asked us on our Q&A. Somebody who listens to the podcast asked us this question.
So as we go into this, we really understand that most of our audience is women. The individual that proposed we talk about this is a woman. And so we felt very compelled to dive into this and really give you an unfiltered, raw, and real answer, because we really feel like it will serve many of the women in our community.
Yes.
We're not going to be able to be raw, real, and unfiltered without triggering some of you with this episode. So before we even get into the topic, before we even get into the juiciness of this, just go into this knowing that this might ruffle some feathers.
And knowing that we're not going to be able to hit every human on the planet with the complexities of gender, with the complexities of different dynamics. We're not hitting every single dynamic and gender that is on this planet. And that's never the point of this podcast.
No.
We're speaking as us and as the guests we have on this show, but we're going to be raw, we're going to be real, and we're going to share our experiences. So when a question comes in around what do men want from women, which is the question, We said, okay, we'll answer it as men speaking to women.
Boom. And so we've got 9 things. We've broken this down into 9 different categories that we feel are very important and that we as men want.
Yes.
To further what Ryan just said, this episode is going to come through a primal lens. Mm-hmm. So it's going to come through kind of the like masculine essence in primal being.
Yeah.
That sounded so spiritual. So when you're thinking about this, just remember that we are talking about how most men are wired. We've done a lot of work on ourselves to get to this point, to understand this about ourselves. And I've tried to explain this to some women in the past, and they've gotten extremely upset with me in doing that. And we'll get into why. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it requires a very open mind to navigate some of the topics we're going into. So please stay open.
Stay open, stay lit, as we say. As you can tell, we're giving a lot of like preemptive things before we go into this, because even leading up to this episode, Cam and I were talking for a while, and why we have it laid out into 9 specific things is because we know we go into rabbit holes, but we wanted to make sure we're getting across what is true here, what is really true. And as our masculine essence, we wanted to have structure to this.
Yes.
Especially this episode. We
Yeah.
have lots of free form episodes. This one, we're like, no, we want structure. We want to answer this question in a way that's going to actually create understanding. And there was hesitation before this episode of like, oh shit.
Should we say that?
Should we do it?
Should
Like,
we bring this up?
Should we be like this truthful and like share this much, because it can be misinterpreted or it can be seen as toxic. It can be all of these things. We're like, we got to do it.
And this right here is so funny because it's so important that we touch on our hesitation here, because that's kind of woven through the fabric of this episode and of the masculine, in a sense of we're animals.
Yeah.
Like we're beasts. And that's our natural state of being. And a lot of times as beasts, we can be afraid of really allowing that wild, primal, animalistic side of us out. And that's pretty much the whole theme of this episode is asking women to create a container that's conducive for us to do that. And so the kind of underlining, that's the one. Yep. Thank you, Ryan. The underlying kind of message here is meet the beast.
Yeah.
We are going to introduce you to the masculine beast in this episode.
I love that you say that, because the story of that is with the partner that I have now. She asked when we were first going into our relationship, you know, there's lots of conversations about what this can be, what can we explore, what can we do, what are our fantasies and everything coming forward. And that's what she asked me. She said, I want to meet your beast. I want to know your beast. I want to know all of it. And I want to see it. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. For that to happen, we need to make sure that these things are reciprocal.
Yes.
And we're both showing up. And so that's a good way to start this, because for us both to for me to show my beast, I need to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? And so let's go to the first thing, because that's actually a part of it. We'll get into that later. I need to feel empowered in that space. Yeah. So speaking to that, maybe you want to kick this off with the empowered side, because you're the one that brought this first point up, and I thought it was so beautiful. Speaking to feeling empowered by the feminine.
Yeah, and to preface going into this first piece, a lot of women say they want a man who's in his divine masculinity, right? A lot of women in our community, they want that. We actually witness a lot of women end relationships with men because that man is not in his divine masculinity and is not showing up how they would like him to show up. there's a flip side to that coin. And that flip side is that the woman shows up how the man wants her to show up. And it's important that we both understand these sides. And so before we get into the steps, I also want to just preface that this is about a relationship between a man and a woman.
Yep.
This is about a heterosexual relationship between a man and a woman. Okay, so use that lens for everything we're talking about here. Yeah. The empowered piece. As men, we want to feel empowered to be in our masculine frame. We do not want to feel like we have to fight for the masculine aspect of the relationship. We want to feel like we have reign to stand and hold that grid. And I think for me, that's become one of the most important aspects of entering relation is having that clear understanding with my partner that I hold predominantly the masculine energy in the relationship. That doesn't mean that it's always, that doesn't mean that I'm always making every decision, I'm controlling everything. That's not what this is about. But predominantly, I hold that masculine energy.
You've made an agreement of polarity.
Yes.
And that is so important. And we mentioned this in previous episodes, and it'll probably be a theme throughout because polarity is the theme here.
Definitely.
But to feel empowered, like you're saying, to be in that, so it's not conflicting for the masculine. And it doesn't feel good for either party. No. And so what you would want is to feel empowered in that. So what then that would look like as receiving that is you're with a woman that encourages the masculine frame for you and also allows themselves to be in the softness, in the feminine frame, allows that polarity in the dynamic.
And so, and some people are gonna be like, okay, well, how do we do that? And this to me is communication, and that's why we started with it. It's all about communication. And there's something that really, really, and the next thing we're gonna get into is powerful. But there's something that really powerful that happens, I find, when we have the conversation of who's holding the masculine in this. Yeah. And there's something powerful for the feminine to hear, I got this. Yeah. And then there's something really powerful for the masculine to feel like, I trust that you fucking got this. Yeah. That is a beautiful, powerful, energetic exchange that anchors in the foundation of what I believe to be a healthy, conscious relationship of polarity.
Which beautifully goes into powerful.
Yes.
And we say powerful a lot, so it's going to tie in as always. But feeling that you are, as a man, a king. And this is something I've only recently come into in the most recent dynamic I've explored, to truly feel that. I've spoken about it. I've heard the words said to me, but to feel that, there's a difference. Yes. And so what you're saying, the first layer of communication, talk about it, understand it, see what that is and how you want to explore that as a couple, how you want to bring polarity in. But for the man to be felt and seen as a king in the dynamic is powerful. And to be known as that and to verbalize that. Yeah. How good it feels for my person to say, you're my king. Yeah. And how good it feels for me to call my person my queen and actually viscerally know that and feel that in my body. Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
It's juicy. Yeah. And it stimulates so much inside of you, from a sexual aspect to a confidence aspect. Like when I get affirmed for my power in a relationship, it just opens me up to want to do that more. Yeah. And one of the ways that I think this is really important to highlight is physical power. Like, giving you the energetic power is great, but there's nothing worse than making a man feel like he's not powerful. Yeah. But there's nothing more powerful than making a man feel like he's powerful. And when you can tell him, like, I love it when your strong arms wrap around me. I love it when you pull me or do this thing or just grab me, or I love it when you're affirmative in your statement and you just tell me exactly what you want when you want it. Not always sexual. That can be dates. That can be all kinds of stuff. I just had a conversation with my current partner who said one of her biggest turn-ons is that I say, dinner's at 7, wear this, I'll be there. That's it. And it's like that powerful, confident, we're doing this and I've got it all laid out energy is something that turns her on immensely.
And yeah, that is huge. And the side that comes with that as well, which can be controversial, the protector.
Yes.
The like feeling powerful enough. And I
Yes.
love hearing this from my partner as well, because she's a smaller female. So she's like, I feel so safe with you because I feel like you can protect me. And to hear that and to know that feels damn good.
Yeah.
Because I know I can do that.
Yeah.
But it can feel emasculating if a woman doesn't acknowledge that in,
Yeah.
your partner and your man.
Yes.
And it's like, it's kind of a felt frequency of like, I don't know if he really has me. And it's felt like, can you really protect me? Can you really like hold me in that space? But when it's verbalized and when it's known, like you got me, you can protect me. And I love what you're saying about the directness around things and like going to that dinner and then walking out after and being like, I know you got me. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what alley we're going into.
Yeah.
We can go fuck behind a dumpster.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You can protect me in that space.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this leads very beautifully into the third pillar of this, and that's safety. As a man, I want to feel safe enough to express my darkness, to express the beast, to, you just said, I want to take you in an alley. Some women would, might hear that and be like, that's f***ed up.
Yeah.
And as men, we're kind of f***ed up. We have this darkness. We have this primal side. We have this this monster inside of us that isn't bad. That's the essence of the protector. That's the essence of the warrior. That's the essence of the motherfucker that's going to kill somebody who threatens you and your children. You need to have that animal, that monster, that primal side. And you have to feel safe to be able to hold that. And I know that I'm in a solid relationship when my partners can handle my past. When my partners go, I love that you used to do that crazy shit. I know I'm like, yeah, because it makes you feel safe. And you empower me to keep that peace because you know how valuable it is. But so often, whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, mentally, emotionally, whatever that is, whenever there's that darkness that arises in men, I think a lot of times because it's so intense for the feminine, and it's very counter kind of intuitive to how the feminine acts, they get really scared and withdrawal, and then the man feels very bad about it, and then he'll start to suppress that side of him.
Exactly. And that's the terrible part, that because it's not communicated, it stops becoming a conscious transmutation of the energy.
Yes.
And it becomes a toxic side.
Yes.
And then it becomes addiction, abuse, all these negative things, because in society, intensity has been seen as bad for so long. But intensity is what creates, intensity is what keeps safe.
Yes.
Like there's so many beautiful things about what you're saying about that dark masculine, and the dark masculine gets a lot of shame, especially in spiritual communities, but it is necessary.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this as a woman, you probably want that.
Yeah.
Most likely you want some dark masculine.
Yeah.
And so feeling safe in that is so important. That's what I spoke to about my partner when she said, I want to see that beast. I want to know your beast. I wasn't just like, oh yeah. Like, it was like, okay, let's have some conversations about what that looks like.
Yes.
What do I need from you to feel safe enough to show you my beast?
Yeah.
It's like there was a lot of talk about consent. There's a lot of talk about if this, then what? Like, my beast wants to tie you up. How do you feel about that? She's like, oh, I fucking love that. My beast wants to do this. How about that? Oh, I love that. So the safety to talk about it,
Yes.
to then explore it without bounds.
Yes.
Like, go through it all, every possibility. Okay, yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no. Okay, cool. We understand it. Now let's go.
Yeah.
And going into that space and having consent. Like, even the beast wants consent.
Yes.
And it, like, to feel safe in that is so powerful.
Well, there's the quote, I think Jordan Peterson's quote, where he says, a king is a very dangerous man that has learned to harness his demons.
Yeah.
The demons aren't gone. He's a dangerous man.
Yeah.
But he knows how to work with it. And so for the safety of being able to vocalize that you want to tie her up, the safety that you want that you have to vocalize that you like things a certain way, the safety to do that doesn't mean that the woman has to agree to them, but you're going to set boundaries in place that allow for you to at least talk about them, explore them, and investigate. And from there, you learn to harness the aspects that are going to bring you closer together. And then you learn to transmute or alchemize or deal with the ones that aren't. And there's still maybe a possibility that after there's more safety, more communication, more exploration, those things aren't off the table because they're a part of who you are. There's openness there, but right now they might not be coming into your field.
But you figure out ways to move the energy.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing. As long as we feel safe as men, maybe our fantasies don't play out all with our partner, but we feel safe enough to express that. It's like, okay, I can move that energy now in my training, in my other spaces, in my brotherhood.
Exactly.
Ideally, I have men around that I can do scream therapy with anger, with all these other emotions. Like, I feel safe enough in my partnership that I don't need to hide. Wow. I don't need to hide any part of myself. I don't need to hold back any fantasy or anything that I want to bring forward. I get to tell you that, and I get to express that. And so the other side of this that feels even better is feeling safe and then feeling celebrated.
Yes.
And I think once you feel safe, that's beautiful. It's like, okay, you have those sides. But if you could feel celebrated, like, oh my God.
Are you throwing another one in there? You making it 10?
I know. No, this is safe and celebrated.
Okay, safe
It's
and
one. It's
celebrated.
one.
Okay.
I just thought of it. We're going because it makes sense, right? Like feeling safe is one thing. Like,
Yeah.
you see me.
Yeah.
It's like honoring a no.
So it's like that next
It's
level.
like you see me and being celebrated in those parts that we've been hiding our whole life. Because as men and as boys, we hide these things that we have shame around. Like, oh, I want to do that to a person. Oh, let me hide that. Or like that's toxic, it's said in society. So let me hide that. Let me put that in their shame and guilt and fear around expressing it. But we all have that beast. To feel safe and feeling celebrated in that dark masculine, that's orgasmic in itself. It doesn't even need to play out. No. Just the verbalization of celebration is beautiful.
And that's coming back to, the conversation I had with my partner the other day was that it was, she was celebrating the thug.
Yeah, not just accepting
not
it. Like,
just,
okay.
Not just like, yeah, cool.
Like,
she was like, no, I like that.
And you'll come to find you probably do love it as women. You'll come to figure like that's the beautiful thing.
Yes.
We do love that intense polarity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on, and this next one is out there.
Number 4.
Is number 4, and we're already getting into it. This one is going to be very challenging for people to hear, but when we explain the flip side, it might make a lot more sense. But men want to feel like their partner, their woman, their queen is giving themselves to him.
Yes.
Most women, both of us have had this come up multiple times across multiple situations where women have told us that they want to be chosen. Mm-hmm. They say, I want a man to claim me, to choose me, because there's that powerful element of safety in that. But what's the flip side of that coin? In order for a man to choose, he has to feel like he's being given what he is to choose. That can rub some people the wrong way because it's got a lot of baggage in respect to like the father giving away his daughter and all these different aspects. But when a woman can sit there and go, I'm giving myself to this man.
Well,
that's the juicy
life, baby.
essence right there that's going to empower him to be like, you're my